what could be one of the largest partnerships between India and Middle East. Saudi Arabia, the Crown Prince, who is here or who was here in the national capital on a state visit. Lots of deals, MoUs were signed between leadership of Saudi Arabia and India. My colleague Amit Ranjan walking in to perhaps talk about what these mega deals were, but to sum it up perhaps, what we now know is that India, which is one of the biggest importer of oil from Saudi Arabia, is also now going to be an importer of not just oil, perhaps also other green energy solutions.
No, we are going to transform our relationship from being a net importer of oil and natural gas, that's LPG, cooking gas, that's LPG, to a net exporter of green energy, that is hydrogen and renewable
No, but
energies.
then we are only going to export once we get it from them.
Yeah, so
Yes.
it's going to be
So the
connected
relationship
to a park.
will change.
And it's a very ambitious project, and it's probably it's as ambitious. It's going to tie India and Saudi Arabia into a knot. Undersea power cables between India and Saudi Arabia are planned. It's going to be a mammoth task. The MOU was signed between the renewable energy minister, Mr. R.K. Singh, and his Saudi counterpart, Mr. Abdullah Aziz bin Salman Al Saud. Yesterday. Now, to put this in perspective, there are 485 undersea power grids globally. Okay. The longest one is between Denmark and Britain, which is 784 kilometers long. The shortest distance between Gujarat and the Gulf, that is Saudi Arabia, is a mammoth 179 nautical miles, which is 1,998 kilometers. So it is almost 3 times, or at least 2.5 times, the longest power cable, that undersea power cable that exists right now.
All right.
So,
right.
As and when this project
kicks
in, the potential is basically what PM's vision is: one grid, one earth, and one power.
Right. So essentially, let's, for the benefit of our viewers, understand what is happening. So far, we were only importing oil. That relationship is going to change from here on.
Yeah, it's going to export. And the MOUs that are signed, they also have to do with expansion of reserve capacities in India, where Saudi investments is going to flow in. Right now, we have 3 locations where we store our oil that we import, and that is going to increase. So that is also in the ambit. But yeah, this undersea project is the most ambitious of them all.
All right, a very ambitious project. Let me also quickly get in my colleague Krishnakumar to perhaps also walk in and explain what this relationship will look like. But before we do that, let me quickly tell our viewers what has happened so far. We are looking at a better relationship, a trade relationship between Saudi Arabia and India. The relationship is fast changing, and also fast changing on the backdrop of what was arrived at in G20, and that is moving towards a more sustainable future. You cannot just bank on non-renewable sources of energy anymore. Oil, you have to move away from oil. You have to look at alternatives, which is where Saudi Arabia kicks in and the power cables kick in, because you are looking at importing not just oil anymore, but also perhaps greener solutions, hydrogen, and all of that could mean that India will soon perhaps transition not just very fast, but also start exporting some of these green solutions to the world.
Well, I mean, I think that would be a little far away at this stage. What I can actually think of from what has been discussed so far is the fact that Saudi Arabia, at the end of the day, is the king of non-renewable energy in the world. They export oil to the entire world. So it's ironic that we are signing a partnership for a corridor in which we're going to be having power cables and hydrogen transportation pipeline as well. What I'm actually more interested in, the question you began by asking, which is the trade relationship between India and Saudi Arabia. The fact that a free trade agreement between India and the GCC, which is the Gulf Cooperation Council, which is the collection of all Gulf countries, that was, the discussions between Prince MBS and Prime Minister Modi. They say that the discussions that they had could act as a catalyst for the final signing of that free trade agreement between India and GCC. So for me, in the entire scheme of things, that's what I'm extremely focused on. $100 billion worth of trade is what they're talking about. So I'm
doubling of that trade.
And doubling of that trade. So those are, to me, are the big highlights. Yes, this is a pipeline which is, as of now, a pipe dream. I'm hoping that there'll be more clarity. There's still talk on the entire IMEC pipeline, how the finalities would be arrived at, and etc., etc. But in the meanwhile, if we are in these conversational terms with a Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, both in terms of investments and in terms of the corridors, I think it's a double positive for India.
Absolutely, double positive. I mean, doubling of trade deal, doubling of trade relationship to what we're looking at. It's a double-digit $100 billion in value in years to come. And remember, on the back of that state visit of Saudi Crown Prince, 8 firm deals were signed, more than 24 MoUs were signed. We don't know the details of all MoUs just as yet, but what we are looking essentially is a transformation of partnership. But also, quickly, let's also understand Saudi Arabia will play a very crucial role when it comes to the IMEC or the India, Middle East, Europe corridor. It's going to be one of the major players there as well. It's going to act as a bridge for this corridor.
Yeah, so I believe part of this connection of even the grids will lead not just to connecting India to Saudi Arabia, but also ahead to Europe. So that's part of the whole thing. But yeah, like we explained yesterday, and Karthik put it very elaborately with a map, that it's going to link. It's going to be a link both by sea and by land from Mumbai to Dubai, through Saudi Arabia, via Israel, Haifa port, up through Greece to the rest of Europe, and probably later on via the Atlantic to the US.